this your badass.
Yeah. Borderline illegal. Uncensored, unfiltered, First Amendment flow.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Borderline Illegal podcast, or the Unwashed Ass podcast. That was a very
Apparently,
good comment.
we're an unwashed ass podcast.
I don't know about you guys. I don't wash my ass. I stink, bro. I'm kidding. Don't take it literal.
Right?
Take it literal.
Like, if you ain't washing your ass every day, then what the fuck are you doing?
So tonight's episode is titled "Locked, Loaded, and Legal: The Truth About the Second Amendment." And we're going to be talking about some other shit too, but we decided to do an episode on the Second Amendment, even though we know y'all hate educational content. But we figured we just wanted something cool to talk about, and we love guns, so why not talk about the Second Amendment? Makes perfect sense. So we're going to drop the music right fast, get you guys in the borderline illegal mood, and then we're going to get on our little tangents and talk some bullshit. So here we go. Let's get this shit cooking. Well, maybe.
Hold up, this your badass.
Yeah. Borderline illegal. Uncensored, unfiltered, First Amendment flow. Let's talk. Borderline illegal. Speaking what we feel. First Amendment heavy, that protection is real. Voices won't fade, now we cut through the steel. This the raw conversation, yeah, we keeping it trail.
So y'all know the song. That is by your boy Lysol here and his best friend, the algorithm, a.k.a. AI, baby. Let's do it. Yeah, I know you hate
I
that
thought I
shit.
was your best friend.
You are my best friend. You're my best friend. My brother, my best friend. But no, my AI makes my shit. I love AI. I prompt it. I give it the lyrics I write, and then it makes the beats and shit, and that shit sounds tough. Anyhow, hoo-hoo. So, America's most debated right, which is to bear arms. From militias and muskets to AR-15s and school security, we dig into how the Second Amendment became a cultural fault line. Are guns the last safeguard of freedom or the greatest threat to it? While tonight, myself and Rob are going to dive into the origins, myths, and modern chaos surrounding the right to keep and bear arms.
Every revolution starts with someone saying, "You can't take my gun." But what happens when the same gun ends up pointing back at us?
We're not here to play lawyer. We're here to ask the hard questions nobody wants to answer on the record. Boom, boom, boom. So first and foremost, what is the Second Amendment of the Constitution?
And we have that very definition brought up here, is that the PDF adaptation and interpretation of the Constitution of the United States. Second Amendment, of course, was drafted in 1971 when the original Constitution was drafted, and it states as a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, it also says next to it, says whether this provision protects the individual's right to own firearms, or whether it deals with the collective right of the people to arm and maintain a militia is strongly debated. And if we go back through history, it's not really something that's, allowed is to build a militia. Once you do that, that's how you end up with ATF raiding your house.
Dun, dun, dun.
Stockpiling of firearms and ammunition will get you in trouble.
Yep, absolutely.
So, again,
So-
that provision, again, it's just a well-regulated militia, but if you're allowed to carry a regulated militia, then you should have just as many armaments as the governing body does. You should have the same amount, same firepower. But that's another topic for debate. But I'm going to ask a question that's not here in the script. So what does the term military grade mean to you?
The
And every time
cheapest shit possible.
Okay, that's the correct answer. So it's the cheapest thing you can get for the lowest cost. And everybody thinks the military grade means that it's tough, it's badass, and that's not what military grade means. So anytime as a selling point from here on, when people hear military grade, don't think tough, think cheaply made.
Cheaply made with
To be
an
mass
overload.
produced.
Boom, boom, boom. All right. So, as you all can see, we added a new box to the podcast. It is the Google screen, as I call it, even though we're not on Google. This is a PDF pulled up on the side right now of the U.S. Constitution with little side notes off to the side that we're going to use to reference the amendments. So there is no misconstruction or any way other than to read what is on the screen. It's fantastic. So we wanted you guys to be able to see it, add a little bit more, and also fill in my 4-box because that black screen was kind of fucking annoying. So we're going to fill it in. So anything we see or show or whatever over here, you'll see on the screen. You can read it yourself by zooming in. Depending on how my cuts come out, you may or may not be able to see it. It just depends. So if you're on TikTok or whatever have you, I do use Opus Clips to help assist with my clipping of these long podcasts. And it may show different camera angles, things like that. So check it out. Opus Clips is the shit. It does help out tremendously and saves me time because, as you guys know, I work a lot. I don't have time to be sitting here editing videos every day.
So let's kind of bring this back to our topic so we don't get too off tangent here. As you can see from our posting on our window, is the fact that in 1791, the Second Amendment was ratified. And when that was ratified, you gotta understand the average firearm was a single shot musket, and it took 20 seconds for the average person to reload it. And it was not a guaranteed hit even at close range. So just do with that what you will.
Was it meant for citizen militias to balance government power to protect against slave uprisings and civil unrest? Ooh, controversial. What do you guys think?
I mean, that's easily debatable. That's all of the above.
I mean, back in the day, let's be real. Slavery didn't end until way years later. So, was it to prevent that rebellion from ever happening? Or was that to just make sure that we were able to overthrow the government if they were to ever become tyrannical once again?
I mean, where do we think we're at right now?
Ooh,
tyrannical, so, I mean...
That's a rough take. Hey, for some people that called him a right-wing nut job in the comments, there you go. That should answer some of those questions, too, about how he feels about
government should always be
the
small.
government.
The government shouldn't be meddling in trivial shit like who's in your bedroom. That's nobody's business.
I am so sorry. I got a notification that was loud as hell. Nothing of importance. Anyway, so the phrase well-regulated militia, what did well-regulated even mean in 1791? I mean, at
that point, it was necessary to have a well-regulated militia because even though we had our first constitutional army, which was formed in 1776, it was not very large. It was the first Continental Army. It was created by the Constitution in the United States. It wasn't very large, and it was not able to, get to a point where the Imperial British could access and a quick, fast, and inheritance. Where you have the terminology for Minutemen. Those are the militias that stood ready. It's like, hey, we got to hold them off until the real army gets here, and hopefully shit doesn't hit the fan prior to.
So the founding fathers had a distrust of standing armies. Do you think that was why they put that provision into the Constitution to protect against the right of the people to have a standing militia?
Of course they did. I mean, if you look here on our posting, because we're never going to get into this one, the Third Amendment, which is pretty much null and void because this doesn't happen, but the British were literally forcing people to quarter fucking garrisons of soldiers in their homes. Like, not only are they invading, but hey, you got to open your door to these people. Yeah, they're out here killing your brothers and fathers and sons and doing whatever, and it's like, and you just gotta fucking let them in your house.
So an interesting thing that they bring up, with the Second Amendment, a lot of people say that our current firepower, AR-15s, AK-47s, FALs, whatever your cup of tea is too powerful and people shouldn't own those.
Well, that's not completely
Or they
true.
reference it to assault rifle.
Okay, first of all, let's get off on that topic. So you brought it up. The AR in AR-15 does not stand for assault rifle. For all of you uneducated jackasses, it stands for Armalite rifle. Who was the person who created the first civilian version of the M16 or M4 platform? Because it's literally just an air-cooled, semi-automatic, piston-driven, magazine-fed fucking carbine, chambered in 5.56, a 4.5 millimeter, or 223 Win. That's not 223 Win, 223 Remington. Oh my! It's
Man,
not.
that sounds powerful.
And in no way did I say was that an assault rifle.
So that brings us to our next topic of conversation, gun laws. So did you know that early gun control laws actually did exist? In Boston in 1746, loaded guns were banned indoors due to fire risks.
Well, yeah, you gotta understand back then is, you had to pour like live gunpowder into the firearms. So if it fell onto the floor, and of course, a lot of lighting was done by candle, because at this point we didn't have a light bulb yet. So you knock a candle over with black powder on the floor, well,
boom!
You're setting, which was mostly made out of wood and paper back in the day, just setting it on fire.
So if the Second Amendment was meant to keep the government in check, can it still do that in a day and age of drones and nukes?
Well, no. I mean, there's no counterbalance for nuclear arms or drones, and then that's just being fair. I mean, unless you have provisions to take down drones, which of course you would not be allowed to take. The FCC would be in your ass. The government would definitely be looking into your activities, especially when you're drowning. If you're fucking jamming government drones, like that's a no-no. They're not gonna let you do that.
The Second Amendment is currently considered the great divide in modern interpretations. The Supreme Court didn't officially recognize an individual right to own guns until 2008 in the court case of District of Columbia versus Heller. That is a very interesting fact.
I mean, so you take that into perspective. For over 200 years, it wasn't even settled by the law that individuals, not militias, had the right to bear arms. But with that being said, then if you have the right to bear arms just the same as a militia, then what is the purpose of the ATF? It shouldn't even exist.
But you shouldn't be modifying weapons.
Well, you shouldn't have to modify them. Because you should be, if you're allowed to own, keep and bear arms the same as a regulated militia, you should be able to buy some fully automatic suppressors, high capacity magazines, large caliber rounds, armor piercing rounds. You know, you should be able to buy anything you want, basically. I mean, do I agree that anybody showing an RPG? No. But I mean, according to the law, you should be able to.
I'm not going to agree with that statement. I think we kind of badass. Everyone should own an RPG.
An RPG inherently is a dangerous thing. Like, it's a rocket-propelled grenade. It's not very accurate, and you're not guaranteed to hit your target even at close range with it. It kind of spirals out of control when the flight, because the flights are too big for the warhead itself. Because of the way it's made.
I think that the only thing that keeps people from really wanting to shoot an RPG is because, one, we don't know what the fuck we're doing. Two, who wants to accidentally blow themselves up? I mean, you gotta be fun as shit until you die, but RPG, dude, I mean, it'd be cool as shit.
You gotta understand that every weapon system is rifled. So you have these tiny fins on the back of this gigantic warhead. You've seen the way an RPG actually looks when it, like the projectile comes out of it. The fins are very small in the back. The flight control is out of whack. Once it starts spiraling, it starts slowly making a larger fucking ring, and then it'll eventually, like, at larger distance, it'll just completely lose its flight path. It's hard to predict where it's going to go because of the way that it's made. Now, there's there more accurate rocket launchers? Yes, there are. They're definitely more accurate.
Look at those ones that lock on the heat signatures.
Small's rocket launcher, which is one of the main ones used by the military, the used by the Marine Corps, or you have the AT-4, which is the Army's favorite anti-tank rocket. It's a lot more accurate. But can you buy that as a civilian? No. They're not going to let you walk into a fucking pawn shop and walk out with a rocket launcher. Like, that's wild. That's just wild to even think that they would let you do some shit like that. But according to the law, technically, you should be able to.
So we have some very interesting discussion topics this evening inclined with this topic. Like the NRA shifting from a sporting organization to a political powerhouse from the 1970s. It's kind of crazy, but the National Rifle Association is like one of the pillars for standing up for the Second Amendment. You know what I mean? They've been there fighting on the forefront for why people should own weapons.
What about how the NRA, how their gun rights became the core identity and not just a policy stance? Like, that's all they stand for now. It's your right to own guns.
Which is fine by me. I think everyone should own a gun.
Everybody should own a gun, because in this day and age, like, nobody's safe. Like, let's just be real. You can't even send your kids to school without the worry of somebody showing up and deciding they're going to fucking unalive a bunch of people for no apparent reason, and there's no outside defense from that. I mean, there's local resource officers at schools, and most of the time it's just one. What's one officer going to do when somebody comes, takes you by surprise, and does, something heinous like that? And that's where, I mean, there should be some kind of contingency.
Teachers with guns.
No, because that also some teachers coming out with a power trip, because there's been teachers who've been getting in trouble in the modern era for hitting their students. So I mean, it just really depends. Like, sometimes, like, when you're in that sort of situation, because nobody's trained for tactical defense, but they have those, what you should do in case an active shooter does come, and most of it tells you to hide, resist, and then try to evade. You just don't want to be caught. But there's no active resistance, and in a panicking situation like that, most people are not trained on how to react. But there are plenty of people that are running around this country who don't have jobs right now, that are of perfect sound body and mind, who have training for such situations, and we just get overlooked. There's a whole population of us. And
Interesting take.
I think that any veteran, who can't serve the country going back into warfare would be glad to be able to safeguard America's next generation from another one of America's next generation taking them out because somebody called them a bad name.
My next question is we're talking about protecting the schools, and I'm not a religious man, but what about the churches? I mean, we've seen.
I mean, you have a freedom to exercise your religion, and that should be another thing. Like, okay, like what was that? Dylan Wright or whatever his name was. What's his name? The dude who went into
Dylan Roof.
Dylan Roof. Yeah, the kid who went and it was that the kid who went into the black church and then shot it up. And then and then what really bothers me about that is that after he committed that heinous act, he sat there and waited for police to show up, and then like they got pictures of them taking this motherfucker in, and they took him to Wendy's and fed him. And it's
Burger
like,
King.
Whatever, Burger King. It doesn't matter. He took him. He got fast food. He just murdered people. It was like anybody else would have done that. They would have beat the shit out of him. Let's just be real. Most active shooter situations and things like that, the perpetrator doesn't walk out alive. They normally try to take that motherfucker out and take themselves out, said he. If they don't take themselves out before the police arrive, fucking the police normally take that out the problem. I mean, but I think that if you had somebody with a large firearm or multiple firearms, because most of the time military members like to carry a sidearm, in case shit goes wrong, you can't use your main, and then a main firearm. So when you walk into a school and there's somebody standing next to a metal detector, fully kitted out, I think that would probably be a good deterrent not to show up with a gun and shoot up your classmates. I think just that presence alone would tell you enough to say, hey, no, we're done fucking around.
We need to protect everywhere.
Well, yeah, no shit.
Can't go to movies.
You can't go to movie
church,
theaters.
You can't go to the mall.
It's hard to say. Okay, let's be real. Most malls, they have rent-a-cops. So, they have these unarmed security guards, and they're normally geriatrics who just retired. They have no police training whatsoever. They don't have a weapon. They have a taser and a Segway. If somebody comes in there with a fucking AK-47, what are they going to do? Tase them?
Run.
And then the taser, yeah, exactly. They can do what everybody else can do. Run. And hope this motherfucker doesn't shoot you.
So that brings me to a really cool story. A few years ago.
Hold on, before we get off this topic, how are most malls set up? Almost every mall is set up like a showroom. So it's just glass for you to be, you're visible everywhere. There's no hiding places in a mall. The only way really to places to hide is if you make your way through like the employee corrals, like you go to the back of the store and go to the back of the mall and make your way out, as if the mall is built like that. Some aren't even built like that.
But my point was, this brings up Greenwood, Indiana, from a few years back. There was a guy attempting to shoot up the mall in Greenwood, Indiana. A guy who was packing his sidearm ended the shooting.
Before it ever happened? Or
right as it was happening.
I mean, and that guy's justified.
Well, yeah, he's justified. What I'm saying is a good guy with a gun is an effective deterrent from some jackass with a gun.
One of your favorite movies says that there's evil men, but the most evil thing is the indifference of good men. And they're saying good people in general. I'm just like, that's Boondock Saints. If you are not doing, if you see something going on, it's not right, and you don't do anything to stop it, if you're just like, oh, let the police handle it. Well, think about the average police response time, and to mobilize against something like that, if you have the opportunity to stop that shit, then stop it. If you're being indifferent to it, then you're creating the fucking problem. You're allowing it to happen. And it's like, I know that it sucks, because then, at the end of the day, there's a whole bunch of victims at the end of it. Even if the shooting stopped, early, there's still going to be victims. There's still going to be people that got shot. There's still going to be there's going to be fallout. There's still going to be trauma. But it would lessen the blow. And then let's stop with this stupid shit. Like when somebody does something crazy like this, give them their fucking 15 minutes of fame. Like, I get that any publicity is good publicity, but you're making martyrs out of these people. Like, every time they fucking do something crazy like that, you just run it through the news multiple times.
We're going to do a quick research study because I'm curious myself. I've heard people talk about it. But let's discuss how many mass shootings have we had in 2025? And here in America, we don't care about anywhere else. We're going to talk about America. No offense to anyone from another country who may be watching.
As of October 14th, 2025, there have been 340 mass shootings in the United States. Is that just this year?
Yeah, that's just this year.
Holy fuck.
But the mass shooting tracker reports 401 mass shootings. Now, it's important that we define what a mass shooting is, that it's 3 or more for people that were shot and injured and or killed in the process of a shooting. So think about that from perspective. 401 mass shootings. As of September 30th of 2025, there's been reported 341 mass shootings, resulting in 331 deaths and 1,499 injuries.
I mean, it's crazy to say, but it seems like in this day and age, it's got to be like the Wild West. Everybody's going to be packing heat because you don't know if you're going to get shot trying to go check your fucking mail because somebody decided they're going to post it in your neighborhood.
You don't even know if you're going to be able to get the mail delivered because the postman gets robbed and shot. You know what I mean? Like, that happens. And this is just mass shootings, right? I
guarantee
guarantee
talking about individual attacks.
Let's see if we can enact. It's just mass shootings.
Okay, gun violence.
Let's see.
Ooh, so here we go. So this one just says, we're just going to go by the number of injuries and number of fatalities. It doesn't give you a realistic count of shootings, just mass. But we have a total amount of injuries of 21,339 people injured due to gun-related gun-related incidents. And then you have 11,709 fatalities. That's wild.
And that's including homicides, murders, and unintentional shootings. Victims' ages. We're going to do this because people need to hear it. Child victims. That's aged 0 to 11. 182 have been killed. 389 injured. Teen victims, which is described as anyone between the ages of 12 and 17. 814 killed. 2,261 injured. Put that into perspective.
Just wilding out with weapons.
But that's not just teenagers, man. When you combine those totals together, that only equates to maybe 10%. Maybe 10% of those shootings. I've not done the math. I don't feel like pulling out a calculator and doing it, but you're right around 10, maybe 15%.
Like, it's higher than that. If you go off injuries, if you go injury scale, if you take both numbers and combine them, you have like 2,500 out of 2,100. So that's more than a quarter, bro.
Hold on, bro. We're going to pull out the goddamn calculator. Pardon my French. I don't like to cuss, but we're going to do it. We're going to cuss. We're just going to do it today. 2,261 plus 389.
It's injured.
Yes,
over
injured.
Over 21,339.
21,339.
That's for injured.
12.4%.
Okay, now let's go to the killed.
All right, 182 plus 814.
Over
996 total.
Over 11,709.
That is 9%. See? I was accurate. Look at that. My math skills are top tier in my head. I didn't need a calculator. They'd have got the gist. So 10%. 10 to 13%. We'll round it up. So, but it's still a lot when you think about it. That's children we're talking about. We're not just talking about anything. Then we're kids. 0 to 17 years old is crazy work.
That goes to show that that's only 10%, and the rest of it's adults.
Well, it just shows that people shoot and kill people for basically nothing. I mean, justified killings, justified homicides. We get it, but majority.
When you're shooting somebody in traffic because they cut you off, like.
Now, we're going to do something a little different, right? We're looking at shootings. We don't see this. We're going to look up stabbings. And the reason I want to see this is because it can put into comparison. They won't give you an accurate measure. Why am I not fucking surprised by that? All right, this is deaths, just deaths for the United States. 1,688 in 2025.
Knife-related homicides. Hold on. Check in Europe or in Asia.
Canada, 230.
Go to Japan.
That's Philippines, Brody.
Nope, Japan will be over here then.
Man,
you can't even look at it. There we go.
Japan has none.
No, you just can't see it.
Oh, that's kind of stupid. Australia's had 57. Look at Brazil.
Look, all this information right here is shit they don't have statistics for. Because I'm sure Russia's got more than 0.
Algeria, 305.
So these are the ones that don't report. So that's, sorry, I fucked up the map.
That's crazy.
You can tell I didn't take geography.
Mexico, 3,300 people have died by stabbing.
Why is the Philippines so fucking high, though? Like, it's teal like we are.
It's the Philippines,
bro.
Oh,
so this would be the highest percentages.
Yeah. Brazil and Mexico got the highest for stabbings. So I'm kind of curious. We're going to go crime and safety. Gun-related. Just
Five
gun
articles?
deaths. All right, so 4.42 per 100,000 people. They won't give you an accurate number. Why do they do this?
No, that's a
what the
percentage.
fuck? Yeah, I know, but everyone else actually gives you the. There we go. It actually has a number there. Would you look at that?
United States, so victims of gun homicide in 2023.
15,186. So far we're less on the year than 2023 for gun homicides. Damn.
That's wild.
Suicide's way up there. Jesus Christ, that's crazy.
That's a whole different subject.
Hell yeah, it is, but holy shit.
That's 2021, though.
I know, but that's insanity.
That's wild. They don't track it.
Yeah,
It'd probably be higher with
No,
the economy.
They've only been trying that since, or looking at that since 2020. But anyway, so gun deaths and stabbings are pretty well on the same part, but you don't hear nobody talking about banning knives, banning kitchen knives. You don't hear about it. So it's like, what makes it any different? Why does it pull up Amazon a self-defense knife? What the hell? So that's stabbing deaths. Now, what about bludgeoning, right? You don't hear about that very much.
That's an archaic way of...
Strangulation. Let's go with that one first.
You spell strangulation, bro.
Oh, shit. I forgot the R. Sorry, y'all.
Strangulations. What's a strangulation?
Oh, my Jesus. Sorry, guys. I typed too fast and don't do that.
Total
There's
number
no statistics.
Wow. See, it's non-fatal. Because that's normally what it is. You can't be charged with a strangulation most of the time because most of the time they live.
I guess no one really keeps track of that type of stuff. But that's interesting. Strangulation. All right. Let's keep it legit, though.
Do you want to talk about bludgeonings now? Yeah, I don't even think you're going to realistic. D. G.
That's what I was thinking.
E. And then O. No.
No. Bludgeonings. Here we go. It'll fix it. Bam!
I just D.
Yeah, it'll fix it.
Bro.
Oh, no specifics. I guess they're not used to people beating somebody to death, I guess.
Because nobody really does that, man. That's an archaic way to kill somebody. It takes too much time.
They don't actually track it. That's just what it says. They don't track
dude,
that.
It takes too much time. Like, beating someone to death is a very ruthless thing to do to somebody. Like,
but my point with the stabbings and the shooting deaths is it shows that knives and guns, I mean, they're close together in the actual death category, right? I mean, to be honest, I think I'd rather get shot than stabbed. I think you got a better chance of survival, to be 100%, depending on what type of knife was used. Or how many times you've been stabbed.
Right. I mean,
same with getting shot, though. I mean, if you get shot 6 times, your chance of survival ain't very high. But anyway, so interesting facts. We're going to talk about the numbers don't lie. And we're going to talk, the U.S. has roughly 120 guns for every 100 people, which is the highest rate in the world. Hell yes, that is a awesome statistic. There's a lot of guns. So there's more guns than people.
Also, interesting fact, states with higher gun ownership also see higher suicide rates, which...
That kind of matches up to what we just saw on the screen.
That kind of lines up pretty well. I mean, you got access to a firearm, and you want to end yourself, and the easiest way to do it is with a gun. I probably shouldn't have fucking said that, but, you know.
Yeah, no shit.
You said borderline illegal. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Let's be real here.
So the real question is, does more access to guns equal more safety or just more tragedy? You know, it's a very, very, very hard topic to talk about, and unfortunately, I know.
I mean, we've already had this discussion, multiple times throughout our life. But a law doesn't stop a criminal from being a criminal because a criminal is somebody who breaks the law. Correct.
Correct.
So I mean, you're gonna go outside of the law and still get what you want anyway.
Dude,
There's
the
still
internet
access
exists.
to it. Right. The internet exists.
Black market sales is still a thing,
right.
If not more so.
And if people are going to traffic in drugs, listen, let's not think they're not going to traffic in firearms. And I don't think a dog can sniff for firearms.
That'd be very interesting. That's different. So I'm kind of curious on how many gun deaths are from self-defense, right? I am very curious. Are labeled self-defense in America.
No, they won't tell you.
Let's see. National Crime Victimization Survey. The survey is only courts incitements where a victim reports a crime, provides some of the lowest estimates for 2014 to 2018. It is indicated roughly 166,000
You see how inconsistently
defensive
they actually
guns
track this
used.
shit, but then you have people coming out like, guns are dangerous, but it doesn't seem like if they were so dangerous, why the fuck aren't they tracking them every year?
Right. So that is crazy. It says the FBI data only goes to 2018. From 1976 to 2018, 28,770 homicides, accounting for 53% total, were justified homicides. That's insane. So 58% of the homicides that were done by guns were justified by the FBI between 1976 and 2018. That makes for a very interesting use case when we're talking about gun rights and gun laws. Now,
Over half of it is people defending someone or something justifiably using their firearm against someone else, and then it shows that 47% or less than the half is crime related.
Interesting statistics.
Or unintentional.
Right, or unintentional. We got that part in there.
But also self-harm.
Unfortunately, there is people out here. I don't know if you guys ever seen the Boondock Saints, where they, where Dylan Rocco slams his fist down on the table where the gun was there and kills the cat. It was an unintentional discharge. Craziest movie ever. It's a damn good movie. You should watch it for sure. One of my favorites.
Well, I mean, that also brings me to that point about the indifference of good men. Like, that evil does exist. There are evil people in the world, and the people that perpetrate evil. I mean, if you have the choice in which to stop that evil from occurring or even lessening the effect it has on people, then why not do it?
So here's a very controversial take, and you guys can take this with a grain of salt. If guns are supposed to make us safer, why are we the only developed country that feels constantly unsafe? Do we have a mental health crisis? Do we have
I think we have an internalized
gun problem?
I think we have an internalized media crisis. I think it's just that most of the they try to it's sensationalism. Sensationalism sells. You know, it makes things like when people tell you, "Oh my God, the government's going to take all your guns away." What do people go and do? They buy guns in mass. They buy ammo in mass. You know, they just go and gobble it up. Kind of like whenever they tell you that something wild's coming, like COVID, and people went and bought up all the toilet paper. The same thing whenever they tell you that the government's going to come in and start kicking down your doors and make you sign over guns.
You know, you left out like one of the easiest ones. When they call for snow in the wintertime, and every fucking person runs to Walmart and buys all the bread and milk.
Wait, bread, milk, and eggs.
Yeah, it's like, brother, if the power goes out.
Except for the rest of us, right?
Where
if
you
the power
putting
goes out, yeah, unless you're going to bury it in the snow, which most people don't think to do.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Right. You bought all the milk, you bought the bread, you bought the eggs, and now there's nothing left for anybody else, you inconsiderate fucks.
But there should be like a limit on shit like that when there's some kind of fucking crisis.
No, no limits. Whoever has the money gets to buy it all.
Right, because
capitalism, baby.
If a corporation's not allowed to do that, if a corporation is not allowed to, then why should an individual be allowed to?
Brother, people threw fit because GameStop put limits on how many packs of Pokemon cards you can buy to release. I mean, people are going to complain about that type of shit.
Well, I mean, again,
no offense, but you scalpers, fuck you guys.
Right, it's not fair to everyone else. You don't give everybody an equal shot, and that's what we all are supposed to stand for in America's equality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's make everything fucking equal. Stop being a bunch of pansy asses.
So what's interesting in our topic of conversation, they have done polls across America that 60% of Americans support stricter gun laws, but only 20% think that Congress will ever pass them. The question I have is, what do we consider stricter gun laws? Should we limit the types of guns people should own? Should we limit the amount of ammunition? Should we limit the capacity of magazines? And if we do that, does it make us safer? Now, no. I asked this question rhetorically. I know he's about to jump in there. And I want you to look at one state in specific, California. They did those things. Is California safer than any other city on the planet, or any other state, any other state in the United States? Look at their crime statistics.
Dude, look at Los Angeles area alone. I mean, Jesus.
And the comments are going to say, well, the criminals are the ones with the guns. No shit.
We've already made that point. A law doesn't stop a criminal from being a criminal. A criminal's still going to have access to being a criminal. It's called being a criminal for a reason. You're going outside of the law,
and,
dipshit.
And my favorite thing is just today, California passed a ban on Glock-style handguns due to the fact that you can make a Glock switch.
Glock-style, because only a Glock has that modification thing. I mean, there's other guns that you can
I could put one on my Taurus if I wanted to.
But it's a similar weapon.
It's a similar weapon. But again, making a switch to where your gun shoots automatic. We're going to put this in quotations because it doesn't, but it makes it shoot at a rapid succession, not technically automatic. But anyway, But it's an inaccurate piece of shit. I mean, you may have a stick mag with 60 rounds in
Okay,
it. but
we're
you
gonna
ain't
get
hitting
into
shit.
this because you brought it up, and that's actually my fucking point. Even in times of warfare, like there's firing intervals for every crew serve weapon or machine gun because the weapon's only designed to be fired so much in such an amount of time, otherwise it will break down. So for instance, the firing rate for fucking 240 Bravo is 7 to 9 round bursts. You don't ever just lay into it and just let all fucking 250 rounds just go, because you're gonna be all over the place. You're gonna have to deal with the muzzle climb and recoil, and the gun just gonna be going everywhere. I mean, everybody's played Call of Duty, right? You run in with a fucking light machine gun, and you lay on the trigger, the gun's just going everywhere. It's purpose for that. That's how it shoots in real life. You don't just go and fucking Rambo it up and hit everything. That's not how it works.
I am so mad. Someone's music's so loud that it's picking up through my microphones. That is
Right.
crazy work.
I got a feeling that's our dear mother over there listening to music on her phone. Just learning how it's old school music it is.
It's terrible. Terrible music. Anyway, so with that being said, here's what I think should happen, and then my co-host can give his 2 cents. I own guns. I am a avid gun owner. I love the Second Amendment. But even I keep my guns locked in a safe where my children don't have access to them if they're ever, where my guns are.
Well,
Right?
I mean,
But I do keep a personal protection piece out that is readily available in a time that it may need it. Because, I mean, you obviously ain't going to have
well,
time.
I was gonna bring up that point. A lock gun is a useless gun.
Exactly.
Because okay, let's just put it in perspective. Let's say that somebody breaks into your house in the middle of the night. Do you have a combination safe for the keys?
It's keys.
So you got to fumble for your keys and get to the safe to get your gun out. Now, it's the middle of the night, so it's dark. You don't want to make noise. You don't want to, make it aware that you're awake. So if you turn your light on to try to find your keys, then
Correct. You should
So-
always have a self-defense piece that is readily available where you can grab it in a split second so you can use it in a split-second decision. But with that being said, no one should know where your self-defense weapon is besides you. You. And if you leave the home and you have a wife or girlfriend or someone you trust to use that firearm in the event of an emergency, then they should know where that weapon is placed. But other than that, that is it. Everything else, lock and key. There's no reason to have a cabinet in your house with firearms in it that's unlocked where your kids have access. Because it's not a defensible excuse when your kid takes a firearm into a school and shoots the place up.
what about these people that leave their guns like laying on their coffee table and their kid picks it up and actually shoots their little baby brother or whatever? I mean, it's like
It
dude,
does
like,
happen quite often.
I'm just saying, but like, what made you think that having a 2-year-old that grabs a hold of everything is a good idea to put a fucking a semi-automatic pistol on the table? That
And
has
it's loaded.
2 pounds of trigger pull on it.
It's loaded with one in the chamber, bro.
You've had kids, so you don't understand.
Yeah.
Them little baby hands, man, they fucking grip.
They do.
2 pounds of trigger pull ain't nothing for a fucking baby. It may be hard for them to get their fingers around the gun grip. That's not how they're gonna hold it anyway. They're gonna hold it in some fucked up fashion and still be able to squeeze the trigger.
Imagine a baby pull. That's not
Baby's
possible, but,
drawing
yeah.
down on you like John Wick. Like what?
But no, seriously. Common sense gun laws, that is a common sense thing.
Well,
I mean, it's not even a law. It should just be common sense. If you own firearms, it should be
How do you get
able.
into that? Like, what do you mean by common sense? Like, you requiring people to have a mental eval to go buy a firearm because
To
like,
be honest, if you were ever diagnosed with like some crazy mental issues, you shouldn't have a firearm. That's why red
bipolar.
flag
Does
laws.
that mean I should own a gun?
Depends. Do you take your medication? If you take your medication, then yeah, you should be able to own a gun. But if you're one of them people that doesn't take their medication or has rapid cycling mood swings, no, you should not. Because if you ever get to that point where you are losing your temper and you have a firearm close in possession, you have a chance of shooting somebody because you're pissed.
I mean, everybody has that, even if you don't have a mental illness. Like, it's
Absolutely.
called self-control.
Again, there's certain groups of people that should not have firearms if they are diagnosed that way. But here's
I
my
understand
hard
that
take
point.
on this, right? Just because you're diagnosed with a mental disorder doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to own firearms. As long as you
Well-
comply with the orders of your doctor, you should be able to own a firearm.
So, may I ask this question? Okay, so while we're on this subject, why is it in the United States you need a license? You got to go through a licensing program, to own a car. Cars are not considered a deadly weapon until you use it as one, but it is inherently a deadly weapon. I mean, the fucking thing weighs anywhere between 2,500 to 3,000 pounds for most domestic fucking automobiles, right? And most travel cars. They don't mean domestic because people who drive foreign cars, but most travel cars, passenger automobiles, weigh in about 3,000 pounds. And it's like, okay, you hit something that they're dead. Like, there's your spatter in them. 3,000 pounds versus average human
Not
being.
necessarily dead, but
they're going to be hurt really badly.
Fucked up.
I mean, the same thing with a gun. Just because you get shot doesn't mean you're necessarily going to die from it.
Correct.
So, I mean, you put it in perspective, you have to have a permit or a license, you have to have a license or a training program to operate a motor vehicle. But when most of these people buy a firearm, we have the statistic for unintentional firearm incidents. It's because people don't have any training. They go and they pick the firearm, they don't know what they're doing, and most of the time it's somebody's cleaning their gun when they accidentally shoot themselves with it. Right?
So what you're trying to say is that maybe there should be a class people should have to take before they're able to legally possess a firearm.
I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand. You got to put in a bunch of paperwork to get a concealed carry permit, right? Well, why is that not necessary for you just to go through a regular permitting process?
I don't think that people should have to have a permit to own a gun.
It's not really.
I also don't think people should have to have a driver's license to drive a car.
I mean, technically, you're not wrong, but that's a law based on your state. Like, I mean, you have to have some kind of identification.
Another tough take. I don't think that we should be legally required to have insurance because it's a consumer product.
I mean, I'm on with you. I'm on the same level with you. I've made that point. Like, okay, medical insurance wasn't made mandatory until it was, or sorry, not medical, but car insurance was made mandatory when we were kids. Like, it wasn't a mandatory thing. But when we were teenagers, when they started making it mandatory to own car insurance, but it also wasn't mandatory to drive around with your seatbelt on either. True. It was a drink and drive back then, as long as you didn't fuck anything up.
Technically, you can drink and drive now as long as you're under the legal limit. 0.08. That's like 2 beers. But anyway.
Yeah, but that's also depending on the time span in which you drink it. Blood
and your body.
Alcohol metabolizes for that on the average 1 blood ounce per hour. So
yeah. So getting back into that subject, I don't think that people should have to be licensed to drive a car. I don't think we should have to have insurance. But that comes with this also saying that if you do something stupid and you cost somebody their life in an automobile, you should be held criminally liable.
The whole point is like the training
and financially liable. So if you fucking hurt somebody, or you hurt another person, you destroy their car or whatever, and you ain't got insurance, guess what? You should be paying for that motherfucker, and it shouldn't be going on that other person's insurance to get that vehicle fixed. The insurance company should be going after
medical
them.
bills, right? Okay, so what if you fuck this person up really badly, and you do $100,000 worth of damage in medical bills, and again, you don't have insurance, you can't afford to pay it. This person's fucked now. And what about if they're disabled for the rest of their life? It comes to lawsuit, yada, yada, yada. How does that person ever get their payout if you don't have any money?
I mean, that's true. But unfortunately, people have weaponized the insurance system. I mean, at one point, I was paying over $500 a month for car insurance. I've never had a fucking ticket. Been in an accident where I got T-boned, was not at fault. Why was my insurance $500 a fucking month?
That explains because this is a no-fault state.
No-fault state, and it's the zip code where I live. That's not fair to me. Why does my zip code get held responsible because most motherfuckers around me don't have insurance?
Exactly, or why is you're held responsible for the actions of your populace surrounding you?
So again, why should anyone else be held responsible for the actions of the populace around them? That brings us right back to the Second Amendment. Now, don't it, baby? Perfect tie-in. That wasn't even intentional. But again, no one else should be accountable for someone else's actions. Only the person who has done those actions should be held accountable. That goes into saying there is an exception to this rule. Okay? In my personal opinion, parents, you should be held responsible if your child commits an atrocity and they have access to your firearms because you failed to secure them correctly. Now, that is not stating that if your child breaks into your safe or wherever you have your firearms locked up, or if you use trigger locks and they cut those locks off and then commit said atrocity, then you should be free and clear. But if you give your child access, you make it that simple for them to have access to guns, guess what? You should be held criminally negligible for that.
This is where that certification thing kind of comes in. Because so unless somebody's trained on how to properly use a gun lock or how to properly secure a firearm, then how can you say that? Because it's like kind of like with employee liability, right? You can't fire somebody unless they were properly trained to do their job, right? If you can't fire somebody, you can, but you can't. In most places, you can't fire somebody for not doing their job correctly if you didn't train them correctly. There's some states where it's an at-will state and they just fire you for whatever, but that's a different take.
This one.
But again, in most states, if they don't train you properly, they can't fire you for not doing your job because they didn't train you.
But here's my question: who determines who trains who correctly? Because what if you did
Law
train them
enforcement.
correctly? No. Who determines? Like, let's say you're a cashier at fucking Walmart or something, right? And you fuck up super bad, but you was trained by somebody. You had someone there, but that person goes, I wasn't trained how to do this correctly. That person could be lying through their fucking teeth. Who's to determine whether you've been trained correctly or not?
Well, that's where companies keep training records. Most companies do keep training records.
But there's certain things you can't keep a record of.
Correct, and I get that. But it's like, it's going to be hard to believe somebody when they say, well, I wasn't trained in this policy when you've been cashiering for this,
Guns and restrictions, all this stuff all rolls hand in hand with everything we do in our daily lives. We shouldn't be restricting people for shit unless there's an absolute reason
necessity
to do so.
for it.
Yes.
I mean, I agree with you on that. That's what America's supposed to be, the land of the free and the home of the brave and all that. But it's like, when it comes to the whole gun-related crimes and all that shit, like, there's no way to really mitigate it unless you increase the nation's defense. And the only way to increase the nation's defense is there's people that are going to have to step in and say, you know what, enough's enough.
I will just say that if someone invaded the homeland over here, they'd be big fucked because there's so many guns and some people that know how to use them. I mean, I wasn't trained on how to use it. You went to the military, so technically you've had training, you shot guns before you went in the military. But I'm not trained to own a firearm, but I know common sense-wise how to own a firearm.
Well, yeah. But that's the thing. It's a great debate, and common sense is not standard issue. So what you think is common knowledge, some people may not know is common knowledge.
And it also depends on who showed you first, like learning how to drive.
Right.
We went out, we learned in the middle of fucking nowhere, we learned how to drive country roads first to teach you how to drive, and then shown other things. I never drove on the highway until I got my actual driver's license.
I drove on the highway when I was a teenager.
But I'm just saying, but remember, I didn't have my license when I came to El Paso.
Right.
So I didn't drive. I was driving illegally for a very long time from the time I was 12. You know what I mean? That's why I say I don't think that you should have to have a license to drive. There's a lot of people out here who know how to drive that don't have one.
You got a point.
But there is a lot of people with a driver's license who get a driver's license and can't drive worth their shit.
Right. They just out here playing bumper cars and crashing up everybody else's shit.
Oop. Don't want the mouse. But anyway, so restrictions should not exist. And this brings me into my next hot topic. And I'm going to say it. You can either agree with it, disagree with it. I don't give two shits. It is what it is. Convicted felons should be able to resume ownership of firearms once their crimes have been paid for. Meaning, once their time served for their sentence has completed, they should be able to regain the ability to own guns. And I'm going to say this, that includes violent offenders. And I'm going to say this, and people are going to what the fuck is this guy talking about? You have to give somebody a chance to fuck up again, right? People fuck up now.
That's how you know if they're rehabilitated or not.
People fuck up now because they feel like they have no other choice but to fuck up. Because people have told them time and time and time again that they're a fuck up. They're never going to be anything besides that fuck up. Because of that very reason, they are fucking feel restricted. You're restricting people's lives. The badge of a convicted felon is terrible. You can't even get a fucking job in most places if you're a felon. It's fucking stupid.
There's also, even you don't have to be a convicted felon if you have any kind of violence charge,
it makes it hard.
Child violence or domestic violence, something like that. It makes it, you're not technically supposed to be able to own a weapon either.
Yep. Technically. Absolutely. 100% correct. And it's not fair. And let's be honest. Now, we're not going to get into the whole DV subject. We're not going to get into child abuse subject. We're not going to get into all that shit. But what we're going to talk about is those restrictions shouldn't exist. If a person makes a fucked up decision, right?
And they pay for it.
They pay for that fucked up decision. They should not continue to be punished after that sentence is completed.
I mean, does that mean that, far as criminal record, you're trying to say that after a certain amount of time, they should just fall the fuck off?
Yeah. I believe that if you have committed a crime, regardless of offense, and I know a lot of you are like, oh, what the fuck? With exception of pedophiles. Sorry, guys.
Felons. Well, if felons should never fall off your record.
But they should hold less weight over time.
We got no shit.
Meaning, like, let's say you committed a felony 20 years ago. You go apply for a job that obviously that 20 years shouldn't count against you, which it shouldn't. Most jobs only go back 7 years.
Even when you get
for a
out of
background
prison,
check.
like you're trying to go out and look for a job, and people are declining you because you have a fucking felony. That makes it you fall right back into the process of being a felon.
But I
because you
will
have
say
no other
this:
choice.
there are certain
Or you
jobs,
feel that you don't.
regardless. Everyone's like, "Oh, but only 7 years." No, you can't be a realtor with a violent offense, which is bullshit, right? You can't be a postal worker with a violent offense. You can't work for the federal government, period, with a violent offense. And that's including misdemeanor, mind you.
Right.
Ask me how I know.
Right. Ask me. Same
Ask me
question.
how I know, right? And I'm not a violent person.
No.
I'm not a violent person. Violence is
Unless
my
you're
last
provoked.
resort, right? And violence is my last resort. I don't like putting hands on nobody, but I will if I have to, or if I feel it's justified. But that gets us back into that topic of conversation. Like you get held responsible for a whole lot of shit, and life goes on, right? You've done something, you ain't gotten any trouble for 5, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 20 years, whatever. You should not have to keep facing consequences because
So
with that.
I'm gonna bring us back in. So, with all that being said, are politicians even interested in solving the problem or solving the gun issue, or just milking the conflict?
They're definitely milking the conflict because it's votes.
Well, yeah, controversy sells. You know, we've had that point. Like, controversy fucking sells. And you want to keep the same person in office because they're trying to fix the problem. But there's so many solutions out there that could have already been, kind of trying to nip the situation in the bud, or at least slowed down the problem. They may not have fixed it, but it would slow it down. And we're just doing nothing about it. And I think just doing nothing about it's worse than actually fucking trying to help fix the issue. Because it just show somebody there's no consequences.
Right.
So if you can, these mass shootings keep happening and there's no real consequences, there's no real change, that's going to continue to happen because at the end of the day, those people still gain some kind of fame out of it. They may be infamous, but even infamy is still fame. Fame's still in the name, buddy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The thing is we get into the hot topics of the Second Amendment, and people are afraid. There's so much paranoia spread in the United States to keep people afraid.
Well, I mean, propaganda always goes around to try to, it's sensationalism. You got to get somebody, you drive people into a spot where they feel like they're fearful for their life, and you can kind of get them, they're easier to subdue. Like, okay, if you think you're going to go out to Walmart and get shot today, are you going to be like, yeah, I'll vote for a law that keeps us from buying guns, but I don't want to get shot and going to Walmart today.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
It's the same thing with racism. It's kept alive mostly because of media fueling the fire, kind of like the gun issue. And it's just the media and government fanning the fire. They want to see how far this goes, but it's like
Controversy is a motherfucker.
there's no reason for children to feel unsafe going to school, or people to feel unsafe going to church, or even going to see a fucking movie, going into a shopping mall, going to your local gas station. It's absurd. You're supposed to be free to just go about this country as you would. Like, everybody's free to do that. It's part of being an American. It doesn't matter what color you are. It's part of being an American. You're free. You're free to roam these United States as you will. And you shouldn't live in the fear of violence being perpetrated on you on purpose or by accident just for going out and doing your daily tasking. That's fucking wild to me.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Like, you go to Walmart and you're going to pick up family dinner for the night and you get mowed down because somebody had a fucking bad day and they got fired. So they come back into the store with the AR-15 they purchased last week with their last paycheck and decide they're going to fucking mow down 15 of their coworkers because you fired them.
That just goes back into that self-control debate now, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, dude, like, okay, man, you got fired. Big fucking whoop. Find another job. Or when it comes to the bullying issue, we got bullied as kids. We get bullied now over the internet for these videos that we post. It's like, the world is so anti-bullying because of all this crazy hysteria and people doing the things that they do, like committing acts of violence on people. Bullying doesn't stop. So, I mean, just get fucking used to it. Grow the fuck up. Grow some thicker skin. Like, just because, Cindy Lou Who called you a little whore doesn't mean you have to run up and just fucking shoot 13 of your classmates because one person made you upset. Or because their group of friends don't like you. Find other friends.
is there's no interactions with adult figures, and that brings us into a whole nother topic of conversation we'll probably get into next week instead of focusing on this week. But with parents working all the time, not being in the household, there's
Well, I mean,
or
that brings
you
up
end
a whole
up with
different
it
conversation
does.
about the poverty line and like why it's necessary for two parents to work because you can't afford to live. Like cars cost too much, homes cost too much, insurance is high, groceries are high, and it's like you can't afford to leave a parent at home. So you either depend upon a babysitter who's normally a teenager because they're the only people at home, or one of your own children to watch your kids. And then that comes into like now you're having children responsible for children, and when children are responsible for children, do they always follow the rules? No.
God, no. We would know from personal experience there.
Yeah, we were watching each other at very young ages, but again, that's
A whole different topic of conversation. We'll save that for story time when we get into that.
yeah.
But anywho, so see, where was we at here?
The
Jesus
Second
Christ.
Amendment isn't about guns anymore, man. It's about who gets to define freedom.
Nice. So we're gonna talk. What's your line? At what point does protection become paranoia? We'd love to hear that. Like, at what point does protection become paranoia? When do we become too paranoid that we just keep giving away our protections?
Right. I made that point. It was like you stirring hysteria, and people are like, okay, I'm gonna hand up more freedom now because maybe you'll make me safer. But every time they limit your freedoms further, does it make the situation any better? No, the situation has not fucking changed. It's like the war on drugs. They've made so many laws against the distribution and manufacturing of drugs, but does that fix the fucking drug trafficking problem? No, it doesn't. Hasn't fixed it at all. It's actually made it worse.
The war on drugs is the biggest scam in the world.
Well, yeah, when you got the fucking government actively fucking transporting the shit into communities to try to traffic it and make like make disparaged communities even more disparaged. It's pretty fucked up. And then openly admit to it, like, hey, yeah, we did that.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and remember back in the 80s when we introduced crack cocaine in black neighborhoods? Yeah, we did do that. We remember doing that. Here's the report on it. Like, what the fuck? And then nobody bats a fucking eye over that. The government comes up and like, yeah, all these years of telling you aliens are fake. Yep, aliens are real. And people are like,
Not surprised.
Not surprised, but there might be a line.
It goes into this right here.
I
Yeah,
mean, just drops a couple truth bombs there.
Say it again one more time.
Dropping a couple truth bombs.
That's funny. Sorry, guys, I had to do it. It was a good time.
Maybe when we shoot the next episode, we'll just see where this goes. We'll talk about surveillance nation. How much privacy do we really have? And then we'll leave you on this note. Before we bring it up in the subject for the next episode, before y'all decide you're gonna fucking slide in the comments and make a bunch of snide remarks and say some stupid shit, let's try to educate ourselves a little bit because this is gonna be a hot topic whenever we bring it up. Let's look up the Patriot Act of 2001.
Patriot Act.
And see how long it's extended. It's 24 fucking years it's been on the books. And see what it entails, what the government's allowed to do. And then you tell me, are you really do you have privacy? You know you have the right to it. Do you really have it?
With that note, we're going to end this on the Second Amendment was never about deer hunting. That's a personal take. And freedom means nothing.
Because hunting was not even a fact. Does anything in the Constitution say anything about you have the right to hunt?
No, because everybody back there was hunting because that's how they fucking ate, dude.
Right, there was no grocery
stores.
But that's my whole point. Like, there's no even a side amendment to anything about hunting, but we have a whole board of game and wildlife that tells you what you can and can't hunt. Right.
Interesting. So,
but technically, it does not say you are free to hunt.
But freedom means nothing if we're afraid of each other. So keep that in the back of your minds. If you're afraid of your people around you, it doesn't do so hot. So, y'all have a wonderful night. Thank you for attending the Borderline Illegal episode number 3. I hope we kept you entertained. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
Hold up, this your bad ass.
Yeah. Borderline illegal. Uncensored, unfiltered, First Amendment flow. Let's talk. Borderline illegal.